All right, hi guys. Good morning. Okay, so in last class we had discussed what? Till now we had discussed so many things, right? Like we started from the variables and values, then we had seen the data types, right? Different types of data that we can use in Python, all right? Thereafter, we had seen operators, okay, different types of operators that we can use in Python. Thereafter, we had seen conditional programming, okay, and we understood we had gone through different ways of writing the if else logical program, right? Like simple if else, if elif and else, okay, nested if, okay. We had seen we just try to identify, okay, the condition where we should choose nested if, okay, like in this type of condition, where can we use if, elif, and else. Okay, so there are different kinds of examples we took to understand the requirement where simple if else can be used, where nested can be used, where kind of a if, elif, else can be used, where multiple if can be used at the same time, right? So there are so many things that we had gone through, right? Today we will go for the next topic, which is called looping. Before I start with the looping, okay, can you just if anyone is having any doubts, please let me know. Okay, like many of us are still joining, so we can wait for 1 more minute. Okay, to take your doubts, like those who had already joined. Okay, and then we go for the topic, which is loops. All right. So let's try to understand how many have joined. 15. Okay, 16. Okay, so we can go ahead now. So, see, let's try to understand for loop. Okay, for loop is a way, for loop or while loop, both are used to trigger certain activity in repeated mode. Okay, something you want to be done repeatedly again and again. Okay, like I had given the example to you. If you want to just suppose print a particular value, okay, for sometimes like for 7 times, so I can just keep 7 over here, and whatever I want to print, okay, that I can print over here. All right, so this will be printed for 7 times. Now the question is, if it will be printed for 7 times, who is controlling the iteration, right? How it is counting 7? Okay, how it is counting 7, how iterations are getting controlled? Iterations are getting controlled with the help of value I. Sorry guys, just got a call. Okay. So I was saying like how is it getting controlled? The iterations are getting controlled. Iterations are getting controlled because of the value of I. Okay. The value I is what? I is a variable over here. Okay. I is what? I is a simple variable. Like you know what is variable. But when we had used a variable, we had seen we are using a like variable, and then suppose v is a variable and we just store a value like this. So v is a variable and 7 is value. So this value is not changing with time. Okay, this value is what? Not changing with time. It is having a constant value defined. Okay, but in this case, what happened? We have a I, which is a variable, which value is continuously changing. Okay, the value of I is what is continuously changing over here. All right, it becoming 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is a variable whose value is not constant because of the loop. Okay, first time the value starts over here from the 0 and it will go in 7 steps. Okay, total 7 steps, right? Because you had given over here 7, right? So this range function basically helps. Okay, like for example, if I give 0, 7, it will do the same thing. Suppose if you want to start from 1, so you can start from 1 over here. Then total iteration will be 7 minus 1, 6. Okay, then total iteration will be what? 7 minus 1, 6. Here it is 7 iterations, here it is 6 iterations. Okay, fine. Now let's try to write a code, write a program to generate, you know, multiplication table of 5. Okay, so let's see, if I write 1 by 5 into 1, 5, 5 into 2, 5, it will be time taking process. Okay, but with the loop it can be done quickly, like for it's not I, we can use anything. Okay, it's not necessary we have to use I only, we can use K, A, B, C, D, whatever we want to use. In range, table starts from 1 ends to 10, so it will be 11. Print K. So this is a value of K which is changing from 1 to 10. Multiplication table of 5 required, so multiplied by what? 5. Okay, now just suppose you have to use over here y into K. Okay, so here the value of K is not changing. That means everything is fine, but here I want 5 into 1, 5 into 2, 5 into 3, 5 into 4. What can I do? There's a best way of doing that. You can put this thing into curly braces. Will it work? No. One more thing, that since it is what? It is in a quotes. So if anything is a quotes, it is what? String. But within the string, I want to use the value of a variable. Again, I'm repeating. Within the string, we want to use the value of a variable. Okay. So first what we did, we use a curly braces. Second, what we do, we use a f over here. If it is not clear to you, let me give you one more example. Just suppose I will write over here, name is equals to anything, like suppose Bipul. Okay, now I'll print it. My name is name. So what it will print? My name is name. All right. Now I want one of the names should use the value which is already stored. One of the name I want to use as a variable. Okay, like two name over here. One of the name I want to use as a variable whose value is already declared. Right. So I can put it in the curly braces. Execute it. Will it work? No. What next? Add F over here. What it means? Formatted text. Okay, it is what? Formatted text. Am I clear? I'll share this file with you. Please let me know whatever basics that we have discussed till now. Is it clear for you? Mm-hmm. What plus what? Whether I didn't get your question, you are saying plus one. Plus one means what? Where do you want plus one? Okay, understood. Okay, fine. Okay, thank you. Name all, repeat name all. Okay, fine. Understood. Okay. Yeah, I'll give more example. Okay, till now, whatever that I had given, I'm just asking from that part. Okay, so this is what creating a doubt. No worry. So let's see. Uh, this is called formatted text. Okay, see, for example, if you print over here some text like this. Okay, hello. Uh, is it today? Okay. So it is what? It is a simple text. Okay. So whatever you have defined over here within this, the same thing will be printed. Okay. But sometimes what happen within this defined, quotes area, we have to use a variable whose value is declared at some other place. Okay. Okay. Like for example, let's say print is it still raining on okay. So here it will do what? It will just print like this. Now we have two day over here. Okay. One of the day I want to use as a variable. So that variable I can define over here. Okay. Now I want, is it still raining on? Like for example, fifth day kind of thing. Okay. This is how I want to use it, or I want to use it like this. Okay. Here I want 5. Okay. If I want 5 over here, that means this day I want to use the value which is declared earlier, right? So we'll put this thing in the curly braces. Would it work? No. One more thing required, defining f over here. That is called formatted text. So formatted text will do what? Will make sure that whatever that is declared within the curly braces, okay, whatever that is declared within the curly braces will be used as a variable whose value should be defined already. Okay. So here if I change the value, like I'm making 7, so output will change. Okay. Yeah, Abhishek, that also you can also do. Okay, there are so many ways are there, so you should know multiple ways of doing the things, right? That is also correct, but in that case, you have to use multiple times quotes, close the quotes, open the quotes, close the. So there is a chance of kind of a doing error, isn't it?
Sir, then only thing we need to do here is like we need to put the variables in that bracket and we need to put f in the beginning, right?
Right.
Okay.
Okay, because you can see day is used for 2 times. This is also day, this is also day. Okay, but this day is just a simple
Text.
text, right?
Okay, sir.
All right. Okay. So loop example, let's go for the more loop example over here. What example should I take? Okay, let's take this example. We had worked on in last class, we had worked on something called this one. Okay, user ID password, right? Right. So this example, similar example will take. Now in this case, what happened? If you are executing it, okay, and you enter a wrong user ID or right user ID, for example, and wrong password or anything which is wrong, okay, it says login failed, but it is not giving you the second chance. That doesn't happen actually. Or how things work. If you enter a wrong user ID, wrong password, generally it gives you more attempts, okay, to enter the login ID and login password. At least 3 attempt, 4 attempt kind of thing, or 5 attempt, right? So that can be possible with the help of loop, right? Isn't it? We can do what? We can define a loop over here for I in range 0, 5. Why? Because I want to give 5 attempts. So let it be 3. I want to give this 3 attempts. Okay. So for the 3 times, I want to take the user ID and password, all right. Okay, and thereafter, I want to compare this thing as well. All right. Okay. Right. Now let's try to execute it. So I'll enter a correct user ID and correct password, or let's say wrong password. So it is giving me one more attempt. Now let's say I'm entering a correct user ID and correct password. Okay, so there is a problem. It is working, but it is working with a small bug. What it is doing, when it is login failed, then it is giving me a second chance. But when it is login successful, then again it is giving me a chance, which should not be done. On login successful, it should not give me any further chance. Okay, so how is it possible? This is possible by implementing break statement. There are two statements. Okay, one is called break, other is called continue. So let's work with the break statement in loop. Okay, so let's try to understand. For I in range 0, 10, that means I am creating a loop which will run for how many times? 10 times. Now I'll say if I double equals to 6, break it. So this loop is created to run for 10 times, but it will break when the value of I touches 6. So in between we are breaking the loop. So similar concept we can use over here. We can say that whenever this thing is successfully entered, we can say break the loop. Don't go ahead. Isn't it? Okay, so let's do it. I enter a wrong user ID, or let's say, yeah, wrong user ID, wrong password. It will say login failed. If I enter a correct user ID and correct password, what it will do? It will print login successful and then break the loop. So it is not giving me the third attempt. No, it is not required, right? If your login is successful, why you require the third attempt? Isn't it? Here you can do what? You can add the information. Hmm, how many attempts left, right? So it can be, we can run it for 1 to 4. So for I value 1, we will say, okay, let it be 0 to 3. No worry. Okay. So we can say what over here? Login failed and how many attempts left? If I want to show that part, so let's see print. If I write over here 3 minus total attempt is 3, I. Okay. So the problem over, okay, I'll show you the problem first. Okay, suppose I enter the wrong user ID and wrong password. So it is showing what 3. Okay. But actually I have 2 attempts left, right? Okay. It is showing 2, but it is the last attempt, right? Just showing 1, right? So we can do what? We can use over here +1 because the default value of I is what? 0. So it can be 3 minus the wrong user ID, wrong password. It is saying what? 2. Wrong user ID, wrong password. 1. Wrong user ID, wrong password. 0. Okay.
Sir,
So we can, yeah.
instead of I plus 1, we can use the 1 to 4 in for I in range. 1 to 4, we can use that as well. No?
There are other ways are also there, right? I'll tell you more other ways, right? We can do it in a repeat, reverse order as well. 3 to 0 also we can use, right? I'll show you, right? Okay. There are so many logic that can be used over here. So let's say this is what we are doing, right? So I have to use it to show how many attempts left. So we can do what? Attempts left. This is a formatted text. Okay. Okay. Login failed, 2 attempts left. We can add a comma also over here or something like this, right? Uh-oh. I'll give you more ways of doing that. No worry. Just a minute. Give me a minute, right? G attempt, right? So this is working fine now. Let me just enter it. Okay. Now I'll enter admin password. Okay. Now say Python is a very kind of a kind of a language which gives you a multiple way of doing the same thing. Okay. So why I did like this? Why I had not choose other way? The reason the code is already written, right? And I don't want to make any change in the code which is already written. Okay. I just want to build the logic which can be implemented on the pre-written code. But we have more ways of doing it. Okay. I'll show you. Okay. We can do what? Suppose I have to run a loop for 3 times. We can also do it like this for I in range 3 comma 0 print I. Okay. So is it doing something? It is not printing anything. Okay. It is not printing anything, right? So what we will do? We will add over here a third parameter which is called a step size.
-1.
Yeah, right. Okay. Which is called what? A step size -1. Okay. See, a step size can be added in kind of if you're going in a forward direction as well. Okay, let's see. For k in range 0 comma 10, print k. Okay. So here the value of k will be what 0 to 10. But if I use a step size of 2, what will happen? You can see It is a step size, the third parameter. So whenever you are going in a reverse order, you have to use a step size, right? So if you're using a step size, then you can do the similar things. Let me just copy and paste it over here. Isn't it? So in this case, you have a, I should not do it right there. Okay, let me just do it. All right. So now here the value of I is what, 3. But when the first attempt failed, we have how many attempts left? 3 minus 1. Okay, that means here I minus 1. So logic will be changed. That is just I minus 1. Namely, the value of I is what, 3. So 3 minus 1, 2. Next time the value of I will be 2. So 2 minus 1, 1. Right. So this is how it will go ahead. Let's see. If I enter a wrong user ID, wrong password, it will say what? How many attempts left? 2 attempts left. If I enter correct, okay. So you can see similar things we did in 2 different ways. Here, if we are going from 0 to 3, then also you can build a logic to get this thing to showcase the user how many attempts left. Okay. If you are doing it without that thing, we can use like this. Okay. So is this the only 2 way? No, there are more ways are also there. Right. Okay, Aditya, I'll explain it. Okay, let me just remove this thing. Okay. Now, do you understood this thing? Like suppose here I have initial value 5 and I'm using minus 1. This one, okay, fine. See what happened if I work like this. Okay. So the value of I will change for 5 times. Okay. The value of I will change for how many times? 5 times. Isn't it? Because we have defined 0, 5. Okay. Total steps it will go for how many times? This defined the range. Range 5 minus 0 is equals to 5 times. Okay. Initial value will be 0 and it will change for 5 times. This is clear, I hope, for you, right? Okay. Now, if it is required, sometimes to build a logic, we have to trigger the loop in a reverse order, right? We have to take a reverse order. So in the reverse order, it is not working. It is not giving us any value like 5, 4, 3, 2, right? So that's why we require the third parameter, which is called a step size. Okay. So with the step size, you can trigger it in reverse order 5 and it will take 5 steps. So from 5, 4, 3, 2 and it will reach to 1. Okay. This is a reverse loop. Am I clear? Okay. So same thing we are doing it over here. We have to, okay, we have to do what? We have to create a login program where we can pick the user ID and password. Okay, like this. Okay. Here I want to capture the user ID and password. Okay. But for 3 times. Okay. So let's trigger it. Okay. I want to capture it for 3 times. So first time I captured, second time I captured. Okay. Then again I want to capture, again I want to capture, again I want to capture, again I want to capture. Then it stops. So here I am capturing the user ID and password for 3 times. Again. Now every time if we are capturing, we have to compare with actual user ID. So we have to compare over here if user ID double equals to admin. password. Okay, then print login success, else print login failed. All good? Okay, so it will ask me something like this. I enter something, it will say what? Login failed. Now I enter correct, it will say what? Login success. Okay, it is saying what? User ID failed. So what do we want? We want that whenever login is success, the process should stop. So to stop the process under certain condition, we can use what? Yeah, break. Right? Done. Okay, that's it. So now let's see. Enter the login ID, enter something. Now I enter over here admin password. It is stopped. Okay. Now if I want to show the user how many attempts left, so what can I do? Here 3 is there, right? So if 3 it is showing, here I can show okay 3 attempts left. Okay. But after it login failed, okay, login will failed when? When user entered the value and login failed. So after this message popped up, we have only 2 attempts left. How many attempts left? 2 attempts. Okay. That means the current value of I minus 1. The current value of I is what? 3. Okay. So 3 minus 1 after this step, right? So we will do what? Three minus I attempts left. Okay. Now it is what? I is a variable whose value will be controlled by loop. So here we can use what? F. Right. Now this is not required. Okay. So enter the user ID. It is saying what? 0 attempt left. Oh. Oh, sorry, I did a mistake. It must be I minus 1. What I am doing. Okay, the value of I is what? 3. So I minus 1 should be there, right? Okay. So it is 2 attempts left now. So admin and then password. Then login success. Am I clear now?
Excuse me, sir. I have
Please.
Sir, suppose we have entered the wrong credentials for the 3 times. So then it need to display a message like your attempts are over. Then where we need to display that message here, like in code.
Yeah, we can do what? Let's see. See, as of now, if I enter over here, something like this, okay, and wrong user ID, long password, right? 2 attempts left. So let's see, I enter the wrong something. Okay, then again wrong. It is saying what? 0 attempts left. Okay. So apart from this, what do you want? You want that it should say that your all attempts over, right? So for
Yeah.
that, you can do what? Okay. You know, in the else section, you can do what? If I double equals to, or you can say, yeah, I minus 1, right? Double equals to what? 0, print all attempts are all right. Okay, so let's see. All right.
Okay,
You
sir, got it.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. Whatever you think, like, okay, I have to do this thing. So just think like that. Okay, that I have to put all attempts are over. But when all attempts will be over, okay, just go one step back. So you find that all attempts will be over when this value is zero. Okay, so where can we compare this value is zero? Obviously, when we are entering the wrong user ID. So here we can compare it at the end.
Okay, sir, got it. Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. Now let's take the things over here. Fine. Okay. Now let's try to apply a loop on a kind of a list. Okay. Let's say I have a list over here. Okay. I'll just write some list like countries. Okay. Let's see over here values. Okay. 5, 4, 7, 8, 9, 2. Okay. Now I have to calculate. I have to do what? I have to double the value. Okay. Multiply 2 to each element, to each number in the given list. Okay. Fine. So now if I will do like this, values with say like, okay, I'll do it like this. Okay. So will it work? So this is not the way it will work. Things gets, it is not multiplying 2. Okay. Just it duplicated for 2 times. Okay. So obviously this is not a way it will work, right? So we need to take the help of loop. Okay. So for looping, what can we do? Like, see, if we know range function, right? So for I in range, how many times I have to run this loop? We have how many values over here? 6 values, right? So that means I have to run the loop for length of values. Okay. Print I. In is missing over here. Okay. So the value of I you can say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So this I we can use as an index, right? So if I pass over here values and I as an index, okay. So it will pick 5, 4, 7, 8, 9 to 1 by 1. And I have to multiply the 2, so I can easily multiply 2 over here. Isn't it? Okay. Now, there is one more way of doing it. What is that? See, if you have a values over here and you are writing a for loop, so you don't need range function. Now you may think without range function, how a loop can be triggered, right? Range function is doing what? Range function is using a variable I, the variable I whose value is auto incremented. Okay, the variable I is what? The variable I is auto incremented, right? Okay, this is generated by what? Range function. Okay, if I will not use range function, then how it will work? See, for VAL in values, okay, print VAL. So in values, we have 6 values. Each value will be addressed with the help of VAL. No need of range function if it is a list. Okay, and you can multiply it too. Okay. Okay, so may I ask the question? We had not used curly braces for I. Okay, good question over here. See, when do you use curly braces? Okay, let me explain it over here. For, let it be I in range 6. Okay, print I. Okay, now if I'll put over here in the quotes, this is iteration I. Okay, so here the value of I will remain as it is. Okay, now I want the value of I to be changed, so I use curly braces. Okay, and here F. So here when it is string, okay, when we are defining something as a string, and within the string if we are using a variable, okay, then we use curly braces and F tag, that is formatted text. No, Abhishek, I'll again explain, right? Here what are we doing? Okay, let me just remove it. Okay, for I in range length of values. Okay, so what is the length of values over here? 6. So the value of I is changing from 0 to 5, total 6 times. Okay, now just say if you have to fetch this thing, how can you fetch it? This is values index 0. Okay, okay, let me explain like this. Okay, suppose we don't have loop, right? Okay, suppose we don't know anything about the loop. I told you to multiply each number by 2. Okay, so what will be your approach? Values index 0 multiplied by 2. Okay, thereafter index 1 multiplied by 2, that is 4. Thereafter index 2 multiplied by 2. Thereafter index 3 multiplied by 2. Thereafter index 4 multiplied by 2. Thereafter index 5 multiplied by 2. Okay, that means with the help of indexes, right, you are picking each value one by one and then multiplying it by 2. So in this whole sequence, what is changing? Only this particular entity is changing. Rest everything is same. So with the help of loop, can we control this entity? Right? That is what we have to see. So that's why when we run a loop, okay, here it is I. We are not using any string over here. Okay, there is nothing like a string. We are not using anything in the quotes. Okay, what I mean, I am passing over here values index I. So the value of I will keep changing. Here we are not using like this. Okay, it is not the way we are writing. If I write like this, okay, then we require the thing that you are saying, the curly braces. Okay, because it is considered as a string, but we are not required to consider this thing as a string, so we are writing like this. Right, so what are we doing here? We had for I in range this thing, print values I. Okay, so values I means what? The value of I over here changing from 0 to 6, oh, sorry, 0 to 5, 0 to 5, right? Here it is changing manually, here it is changing automatically. So every time when the value of I changes, okay, like when it is 0, thereafter it becomes 1, thereafter it becomes 2, okay, thereafter it becomes 3, okay, thereafter it becomes 4, thereafter it becomes 5. So every time when the value of I changes, what happened? It is taking up different value from here. First time 4, second time for I 1, it is 5, 4, 7, 8, like this. Understood? Then we are multiplying this thing with 2. Now am I clear?
Sir, I have a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Sir, here we are displaying the values in a list, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what if we want to print that result also in a list, like
Mm-hmm.
after multiple?
I'll come to that. Is the next thing I'll tell you. No worry.
Okay, okay, sir.
Okay. So when you are running a loop on a iterable means what? It can be a list, it can be a tuple, it can be a dictionary, any iterables. Okay. Understood, Abdul? How to print that thing in a horizontally? Okay, fine. Okay, here how to print it horizontally? I'll tell you. There is a way of that. Okay, you can do what? You can use over here and is equals to space. Okay. So by default, it is going in the next line. If you use end is equal to space, it will print it like this.
But now also it's not
No,
displayed.
your question is different. Your question is different. So I got you. Your question is different. I'll answer your question. Right now, I had just answered Abdul question. Abdul had asked like, how can we print it horizontally?
Okay, okay, sir.
Okay, so your question is different. That is, I'll tell you. Okay. So when you have a list, okay, or any tuple or dictionary, and you have to trigger a loop, okay. So with the range function, you can trigger, but there is more simple way of doing that. Okay, that is without using range. Okay, here you can do what? You can directly take any variable over here. Okay, like for v in values. So here we will define what? Here we will just kind of access each value one by one automatically without any index. Right? It is taking what? It is taking each value over here automatically. First it picked 5, then it picked 4, then it picked 7. Okay. So in case of iterable, you don't need any range function as well. Okay. You can directly trigger a loop with any variable, and then you can pass the variable of that iterable. Abhishek, are you getting it now? Okay. Okay. Let's take one more example. Let's see, I have to multiply it, right? Okay. So we multiply it by 2. Okay. Okay. Let's take an example. Okay. Let's say I am defining some city's name, right? Okay. Let's say just some city's name I am defining. Delhi, Mumbai. So, so some big name. Okay. Now I want to calculate the length of character in each of them. Okay. So what I'll do, if I will use length of cities, it will give me what? 5. Okay. But if I use cities index 0, okay, It is giving me 5 right still, but right now this 5 is because of this Delhi. Okay, it is not because of how many values over here, right? So by changing the index, what can I do? I can use over index 1, index 2, index 3, index 4. So every time I am taking different value and then counting there how many characters are there. Okay, let me replace this thing with the Pune because everyone is having 5, 6, 6, 6. It is different little bit. Okay, yeah, let's make it 3. Go on. Okay, so it's different now. Okay, it's fine. So here we have like this. Now we want to do the same thing using loop. Okay, or let's say suppose I have to also print the name of the cities, right? So I can do what? All right. So every time it's Delhi, Delhi, Delhi. Why? Because this guy is not changing. Okay. So it is the name of the city, comma, the length of character, that how many characters are there. Right. Now I request you to do one thing. Please do the same thing. Just try to do the same thing with the help of loop. Please everyone try. Right or wrong, that doesn't matter, but just try. Mhm. Yeah, this is what. Okay, let me just explain once again. It is what we have a list of cities, right? Okay. Now we are doing what? We are accessing the index 0. Index 0 represents what? Delhi. And the length, that is how many character in that particular Delhi. So, 5 characters. So that's why we're getting this thing. Okay. Now we are taking what? Index 1. Okay. And length of character. So I get what? This thing. Which is right. Now, next, we did what? Cities 2. So 2 is what? Index 2, which is Pune, and then their length. So we are getting this thing. Okay. So the same thing we have to do using loop. Right? You already did it. Then what are you asking? Okay. You're different. Okay, 2 somewhere. Okay. Okay. So if you do the same thing with the loop, what you can do, you can do it like this. For that two way of doing, obviously, okay. For I in range, okay, what? For I in range, what? Length of cities. That means how many characters are there? Sorry, how many names are there? Okay, okay, yeah, many of you did it. Okay, nicely, yeah. Many of you use I in range, and many of you use directly. Okay, that's fine. Thanks a lot. Okay. NASA did it through for I in range, length of city, and nice. Mohammad Wasi for I in string. Okay, correct. Only length function you are missing. ESA did it for city in cities. Okay, okay. F city name length. Okay, fine. Nice. Length of city, yeah, correct. Soumya also did it. I in range, length of cities. Yeah, correct. Okay, that's nice. Anil also did it. So different ways you had implemented. Abhishek Abdul also did it. Okay, nice. Okay, thank you. So now cities in case still, right? I guess 5 people did it. Still, if anyone could not understood or having any doubt, please don't worry that okay, other people are doing and I'm not getting it. How can I ask? It's your right to ask, right? If even all did, right, I doesn't care, right? If any single person could not understood, I have to consider that, right? So if you can't understand, please don't hesitate in asking, right? It's my duty to explain, and it's my duty to kind of make sure that everyone understood over here. I can't say that okay, 90% people understand, my job is done, right? That is not the way things goes on, because it is not your conventional session. Okay, so it's very important that 100% of us should understand, even not 99%, right? So even if you can't understand, you can please let me know that yeah, you can't, things this is not clear for you. I'll try to explain at my best, right? Okay, so see, simple. For I in range, length of cities, here it will access each city's name one by one. So once we accessed each city name, why are we accessing each city name? The very simple reason, because the value of I is changing over here. This is not constant. The value of I is what? Changing 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 because of the loop. And if it is changing, you can do what? You can pass over here same information in the done. Okay. And the other way of doing is okay. The next way of doing is what? You can avoid the range function as well. This is also correct. This is also correct. Okay. For city in, directly you can use any variable cities. Okay. That means with this variable, you are trying to access each value from it. Okay. Print city. Right. Then you can use length of. Okay. So see, when you are having any iterable such as a list, as a dictionary or a tuple, so in that case, this is going good. Okay, you are not required with range function. Okay, but range function can be important when you have to define how many times you have to, like here. In this case, without range function, you can't do it. Like if you want to define that, okay, I have to give 3 attempts. So you can't define 3 attempts without range function. Okay, there are so many cases which can't be done without range function. Okay, because here range function can be used to define the number of iteration, but in a list or a tuple, okay, you can avoid range function. Okay, because the loop will know that I have to run only for these many times, so directly you can use for city in cities. Now let's come to without range function not understood. So okay, this thing, right? This one, right? Okay, see what happened here. you have a list. In this list, we have a multiple values. Okay, just try to understand what I have to do. Okay, list have multiple values. Okay, we need to capture each value in list one by one. Okay, to process. Okay, it's like okay. So here what are you doing? We have to take this thing. List have multiple values. Okay, we need to capture each value one by one. Okay, to process. Okay, like each value will be processed one by one. Right, system will process each of them one by one. Right. So in that case, you can do what? If you write over here for okay, like suppose any variable you can use, right? Anything. Okay, like suppose I'll write over here what? Let's say C in cities. Okay, so here C is what? C will capture each value one by one from the given list. So first time the value of C will be Delhi, second time the value of C will be Goa, third time the value of C will be Pune, like that. Okay, here we don't have any 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, right? It is just like capturing each value one by one and assigning it to C, right? And then we can do what? Length of C. All right. Okay, nice. You said what if we have to iterate only for 3 times? Good question. Because here, if we want to iterate for this is a very logical question actually, Aditya had asked. See, here if we want to control, if I want to run it for 3 times, we can control. Okay, like we can control with the help of range function, or we can also break the loop. Like here, we can break the. This is defined to run for 10 times. No, where I hit use break. Okay, here. This is defined to run for 10 times. Okay, but if I want to run it for only 6 times, so we can break it. Right. So in this case, the range function is controlling how many times you have to run the loop. Okay. So with the range function, we had seen we can control how many times we have to run the loop. Like in this case also, just consider that I have to run the loop for 3 times. So what can I do? I can do what? I can use if I double equals to 3, break. Okay, or 3 times I can like 0, 1, 2. Okay, so I can use 2 also over here because the value of I starts on 2. Okay, so see in this case, even it is having 6 or 5 values. Okay, but I want to break the loop. I want to run the loop only for 3 times, so I can use this process, isn't it? Okay, so it will break for the third time. But what? How can I control this thing? Okay, because in this thing we don't have any I or something like that. Yep. Here there is no counter, isn't it? So in this case, what can we do? If you know that at third position what present, yeah, right. If C is equals to Pune, you can break it. That is one of the way. Okay. But how do you know that at third position Pune can only be there if someone change the position? Okay, someone just suppose just put the Pune over here. Then what happened? Right. So this is something which is not going to be same always. Like at a given point, if you've defined it, it can be changed. Anyone can change it, right? So there is a way you can do that. You can define something called counter. Okay, either you can write the code like this. Okay, you can write the code like this. So whatever value that exists over here, that doesn't matter, it will always stop there. Pune or whatever, right? It will always stop over here because the condition I is equals to 2 will becomes true here. Okay, here the value of I is true. But here we don't have any I, so you can define what? You can define a counter. Count is equals to 1 by default, right? Count is equals to what? 1. And when the loop run for the first time, the value of count you can increase by 1. This operator is called, can anyone tell me? What this operator is called?
Increment.
Assignment operator, right? It is increasing the current value of current value of count. Okay, current value of count increase by 1 and update it, right? So now we can do what? Print count. Okay, so every time it will print count. So it 1, 2, 3. First time it was 1, or we can start with 0 actually, right? Yep. So 1, 2, and 3, right? So we can say what? If count is equals to 3, break. All right. So here by introducing the counter, you can do the job. All right, Aditya. So every time loop will run, the value of count will be increased by 1. Okay. So if you're writing the code like this in which range function is not there, you have to introduce a counter separately. If you are using a range function, then we don't need such counter because range function is automatically using a variable which acting as a counter. Okay. Now one question over here. When we were working on it, okay, Niti, I'll explain once again. Okay. See, I'll explain once again, right? So, but I want to explain it in a different way, not the same example. Let me think of an example actually. Let's say counter. Okay. Okay, let's try to take a good example. Okay, where we will do what? Let's create a guessing game. Guessing game means what? Let's say no, basically we have to say something. I'm thinking like if we can do it without okay, fine. Let's say there is a random number. Okay, I'm going to explain the count with a good sort of example, right? I was thinking of example that can be better to understand, or a lot of things can be covered. So there is a module in Python called random. Now you may be thinking, what is this? Import random. Okay. See what happened in Python, there are a lot of libraries are there. Okay, that is more than 300 libraries are there. Okay, in Python we have more than 300 libraries. One by like we will see, I guess 5 or 7 libraries. That is enough for us. Okay, because the libraries in Python, it's like for different purpose. Okay, it is for data science, machine learning, web development, so many things, right? So we don't need to look for the libraries used for web development. We don't need to look for the libraries used for application development. Okay, we have to look for the libraries which are used in data science, machine learning mostly, right? So there is a library which is called random. Okay, so in Python we can do what? We can import a library by using import and the name of library. Okay, so now what random does? Random can generate a random number. Okay, let's say I'm giving over a 1 to 100. So what it will do? Every time it will generate a random number. Any number can be generated. No one knows. Any number between 1 to 100 can be generated. Okay, it's like, there is a box, and in that box there are 100 items kept. Okay, you have to just put the hand and pick some item. So randomly you can pick any item. Okay, like this. Okay, now you may be thinking, why am I telling you this thing? Because using this thing we will try to create a guessing game. Guessing game means what? Create a guessing game where user needs to guess the correct guess the exact number which is randomly generated by program. What it means? Let's see here, I'll store this number into a random number. Okay, I will store this thing into a variable. Now I don't know what's the number. Okay, now what will happen? I'll ask the user guess number and teaser input enter a number. Print guess number. Okay. So here I just enter suppose 54. Now is the 54 same as the random number? How can you find? So guess number is something that is entered by user. Okay. Random number is given by whom? By the system. Okay. Random number is what is given by system, right? Now we have to do what? We have to basically guess a number over here. Let's say I entered 60. Okay. So it is saying what? False. That means 60 is not the correct number. Okay. That means we have to let the user again enter a number. Okay, and we have to check that whether the user entered the kind of how many times user is taking, okay, to guess the correct number. Okay, like see, again I'm giving it a chance. I entered a number, suppose 23. It's still false, right? So there is a way, if I just compare equal to, it may be difficult for the user, but if I will use equals to, greater than, or something like that, then it will be little easier for the user. How I'll show you. Let's say I execute it, I enter a number 25. It is saying false. False means what? Guess number is 25. 25 is not greater than random number. Okay, 25 is what? Is not greater than random number. That means random number must be between 0 to 25. Okay, like see over here, let me explain. Here it is 25. Okay, and here it is saying what, false, right? So if it is 24, then it will be true. 23, it must be true, but if it is 26, it is false, right? It means random number must exist between 26 to 100. That is one clue that we have. Okay, random number must be between 26 to 100, isn't it? So what we will do? Okay, let me write a condition also over here. Print, let's say guess number double equals to random number, right? So now we know it is between 26 to 100. Let's write over 50. So it is saying true. That means we have over here 50. Okay. And over here random number is what? Must be lesser than 50. Okay, like 49. Okay. That means now we have an idea that random number exists between 25 to 50. That is what we know, right? So now we have to do what? Again, we execute it. Okay. Let's type 30. Everything is false. Okay. 30 means what? We know here my guess number is 30. Okay. And 30 is greater than, see, if I write over here something like, 29. Okay. So it will be true, but it is false. That means it must be 31. It must be 31 or more. As it is 31 or more, that means my random number must exist between 31 to 50, right? Okay. So let's execute once more time. Let's write 35. So it must be 36 and 50, right? Let's see one more time, 40. So you can see it is true now. Okay. That means my random number is what? 40. You can just confirm it. So how many times it took? Like 5, 6 times I took, right? So this is a game that we have to create. Okay. But here I am executing again and again. Okay. The random number was what? 40. And I guessed it in some times like 5, 6 times. So this is a game we have to create using for loop. Okay. That means loop should keep running till the time this happens. And then I have to say how many attempt user took, right? So how can I write a loop for it, right? So let's try to create a loop for this. Suppose I want to give a maximum number of chance as 10. So for I in range, what? 10. Can you try? Can you try just? I had told you what to do. Can you just try to do this thing? I'll do nothing over here. Just keep it as it is. Just try this thing. Just I want you to kind of put some thinking over it. Like you maybe it will some logical thinking will be developed. If I do it, you can just see. But if you try to do this thing on your own, some logical thinking will be developed.
Sir, can we do same question with the help of if else function?
Yeah, we have to use if else also. See, okay. First of all, let me just do this thing. See, okay. What I'll do, okay. Just use it over here. First of all, random numbers should be generated separately, not in the same code. Otherwise, it will every time loop will run, it will create a new random number, right? Now, what I'll do for I in range, okay, that depends upon you how many attempts you want to give. Like suppose I want to give maximum 10 attempts, so 0, comma 10. Okay. So in every attempt, I want to ask the guess number, right? Okay. Now we have to compare if guess number double equals to what? Random number. Then we have to do what? We have to break the loop. All right. So here I am giving it a 10 attempt, right? Let's see. Print guess number. Okay. So I entered suppose 20, okay, 10, 15, 60, 70, 66, 72, 90, 87, 45. Okay. So it is difficult, right, to guess a number because I'm not having any direction. But if I can add some condition over here, condition like I did over here, okay, like I can do what? I can just check it. Else, or you can say elif, what? A condition, guess number is smaller than random number. Okay. If it is smaller than random number, we can print what? Two less. Okay. Or we can do what? Else print too large. Okay. Excuse me. Print congratulations, you won. Okay, so now we'll have a direction, right? User will know that whether it is guessing. Okay. Okay. So now I have to enter number. Let's say I enter number 20. It is saying two less. That means I have to increase. That means it makes me a sense that, okay, that my guess number is lesser than the random number. That means the number exists between 20 to 100 because it is 1 to 100, right? 20 to 100, right? So we'll do what? 50. So that means it is between 50 to 100. Now let's say 70. So it is too large. That means it is between 50 to 70. Okay. Now 50 to 70, let's say 60. Too less. The 60 to 70. That means I have now 60 to 70. That is only 10 things are there, right? 65. That is 60 to 65. 62. 62 to 65, right? So 63. 64. Right? So it is what? 64 that is guessed, right? So how many attempts it took? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Almost 8th attempt. Okay, I guessed the correct number. Right? So I have to show how many attempts it took by the user. So how can I show? So almost this code is done. If I have to show how many attempts user took, then how can I show it? Can you tell me? Just modify the code. How can he show that, okay, you took 10 attempts, you took 8 attempts, you took 5 attempts, you took 3 attempts?
So print I.
Okay, yeah, I is something which will start from 0, right? So that is one of the way. Okay, so here at this point, whatever the value of I is there, print it took
I.
I plus 1 attempts. Okay, and in case all attempts are exhausted, then what can we do? We can write over here else you exhausted all 10 attempts given to you. Okay, so let's see. Suppose I enter number 54. I just enter some random now because I have to exhaust it so that I can check. I exhausted all 10 attempts given to you. Okay. Now I'll just take this thing. Again, I generate a random number. Now let's see. I just guess a number, suppose 50. Okay, so it is too large. That means I have between 0 to 50, right? So now I'll add 25. It is just 0 to 25. Let's say I'll add over here 12, 15. So 15 to 25, that is 20. It is too large. 15 to 20. So let's say 17. 17 to 20, let's say 18. It may be 18 or 19, right? So it took me 7 attempts. So if anyone can guess the number lesser than 7 attempts, okay, so that guy can be the winner, right? So 7 attempts are there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, so here we are just printing how many attempts we have to take, right? Now, this is what, if you're using I, so I can help you to act as a counter. Okay. Like it can help you act as a counter. But in many cases, I and range function will not be implemented. Okay. So in those cases, we have to implement the counter manually, isn't it? Right. Like for example, over here, in this case, okay, here we are not having any range function. Okay. So we have implemented the counter manually, right? So let's say, I'll do what? I will just I just want to do over here something. Okay, let's say I have a employee names. Okay, Rahul, Jay. Okay, Arun, Jay, Amit. Okay. Pavan. Okay. Sunil. Okay, some random names I just put over here, right? Now, if I have to go through the loop, so what I'll do for EMP underscore names. So EMP will be what? EMP can capture each name one by one. Okay. Now, if I want to have the first four names, okay, I want to have the first four names, then what can I do? I don't know what is the fourth name, okay, like Ajay is the fourth name over here because I can see the data, but suppose this data is not visible to me. This is hidden. Okay, I want to have the first four name or first five name. Okay, let's say print first five names. Okay, so what can I do in this case? Either I can use range function for I in range this way so I can count. If I can't use range function, I can define count value is equals to what? 0. Okay, now when count value is 0, when the first name is printed, the value of count I increased by 1. Okay, so when the value of count we are increasing by 1, so after printing the first name, what will be the value of count? 1, because by default it is 0. When the first name printed, it becomes 1. When the second name printed, it becomes 2. When the third name printed, it becomes 3. Fourth name printed 4. Okay, fifth name printed 5th. Now we have to stop this whole process when the count value is equals to 5 because the first 5 name I want. So when it is 5, I'll break it. Right. So same thing you can write like this, plus equals to excuse me, this thing. Same thing. Okay, like count is equal to count plus 1 or count plus 1 equals to 1. Okay, same thing. It will do what? It will increase the existing value of count every time loop will run. Okay, every time loop will run, it will do what? Let me write into comment. To increment the existing value of count every time loop runs. Okay. The question can we take earlier? You can take count is equals to 1 as well, but in that case, you know, count value is equal to 6 will represent 5, isn't it? Okay. So is the counter clear? Who asked me with the counter? Okay. So this is a counter thing. Okay. And here, why it should be always plus 1? Okay. So how do you count anything? Like suppose I give you 5 items, then how do you count? 1, 3, 5, 7 like this, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? If we have 5, if we have 5 toys, for example, okay. So how do you count? 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. So you'll count 5 toys into 9, right? So that is not a correct process. If you have to count, you have to increment by 1, right? Here we are counting that, okay, first 5 required. So we have to increment by 1. So every time we are incrementing by 1. If we use 2, then it will be incremented by 2, right? After 1, it will come as 3. After 3, it will go to 5. Right? So that is also a case, Soumya, actually. Sometimes we have to do that. +2, +3, +4 also we have to do, but that depends upon the situation. Here it is not like that situation. Here we have to just increment by 1. Okay, you may find some of the code or some of the situation that we will may find where we have to take 2 steps, okay, 3 steps or 4 steps. So when we have to take suppose 2 steps, we'll do plus equals to 2. Okay, so that is also a situation that may happens, but right now I can't find such example, but during the process of this coding and all, some situation will happen like that, so we'll see that. So here we have this thing done. Okay, now there was a question asked, okay, earlier, that if we have a value over here, can we put this thing into list? So let's go ahead. Okay, so here we have a values. Okay, so what we have to do? Create a list by multiplying 2 in each entity in the following list, right? So we have to multiply 2. Now you know how to multiply 2. Okay, this is very easy. Okay, you know already. We have to write for, we have to take each value from values. Okay, print VAL. Okay, you know how to take these values, right? And then if you have to multiply 2, you can easily multiply 2 over here. Till here you know. But how to store this thing into a list, right? So there is a way we can do what? We can define over here values, any new variable, for example, values 2, or you can say values double. Okay, so this is a list which is blank right now. It is having no value. It is blank. Now, can anyone tell me if I have to add a new value into a list, which function I told you? If we have to add a new value into a list, which function I told you?
Append
Function.
Append.
Correct, right. So you can do what? You can take this list, use dot append, okay, and put it over here, right? And at the end, come out of the loop. Okay, when loop will do its job, just come out of the loop, not inside the loop. Please take care, because this process will be done, then only this will be created, and print this guy. So you can see this is not required now. We don't need to print these values. All right. There is one more way of doing that, but I am not sure how much will you understand that, but I'll try. Okay, I'll try. This is a simple way. Okay, simple way means what? We have a set of values. We have to multiply 2 into it. This is how we can multiply 2. Okay, and once we multiply 2, we can just add those values one by one. We can just append those values one by one into this blank list. So initially this list was blank. When the process ended, this is having some values. Okay, there is one more way of doing that. I'll show you. Suppose this is your values, right? Now there is a blank list over here. Okay. Now I'll print this guy. What happened? Why it is taking time? Alright guys, so see, my internet connection was little unstable, so now it's fine. Okay, so it is right now blank. So what we do, we'll write over here VAL multiplied by 2. So will it work? Only VL multiplied by 2. No loop, nothing. Will it work? How will it work? Logically, it is not correct. So how will it
work?
just a minute, let me complete. So right now what it is saying only 4. Okay, let me just tell you what exactly happened over here. Just try to understand the logic behind it. It is not correct. It is not correct, but just try to understand the logic behind it. Please, right? So what exactly happened over here? When you run this loop, the first value of VAL was what? 5. Then it was 4. Then it was 7. Then it was 8. Then it was 9. Then it was 2. So every time the value of VAL was changing, and that value is multiplying with the 2 and then adding into this particular list. The last value of VAL was what? 2. Last value is what? 2.
Yes.
Okay, so that's why when you executed this thing, what happened? It becomes 2. It just picked the last existing value, because this is a variable will always store a value. Okay, so last value was 2. That's why it is considering the value of VAL as 2 and giving me the output 2 into 2 as 4. But it is not correct. I want all these values, right? Okay, so what we can do over here, we can write for VAL in values. Okay, for VAL in what value? That means access the value one by one and multiply it with 2. What this process is called? This is a very interesting thing in Python. Okay, this is called list comprehension. Okay, it is called what? List comprehension. List comprehension means this is a very important, kind of interview question as well. Okay, what do you understand by list comprehension? Okay, so sometimes people get confused, and okay, people think that okay, I had studied list, but I had not studied list comprehension. Okay, so you should be capable of answering it. Okay, what it does, it's just a concise and you can say expressive way to create a list. Okay, let me write the into the comment over here. List comprehension is a concise and expressive way of create lists in Python. Okay. The syntax of list comprehension is compact and allows you to generate list by specifying the elements you want in single line. Okay, basic structure can be new list is equals to expression for item in iterable if if condition. Okay, so if condition we will use later on. All right. Okay, so this is a simple way. Okay, where you have an existing list and you want to operate on it. So you did it like this and then did the job. All right. Okay. Let's take one more example. Okay. Suppose I am having a numbers over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay. Now I want you to think of a logic. Okay. Create a separate list with only even numbers filtered from given list. That means you have to create a list which can do what? Which can just identify the even number from here. Okay. A separate list create which can identify even number from here and can do that thing. Okay. How to identify a even number? Let me give you a hint. Suppose if you have over here 6, which is a even number modulus 2, it will give you what? 0. Okay. And if it is a odd number, any odd number, right? Any odd number, 9 modulus 2, it will give you 1. Modulus is what? It will give you the remainder, right? So 9 modulus 2 will give you 1 because 1 will be remaining. 6 modulus 2 because nothing will be remaining if you divide 6 by 2. So this is how you can identify a even number. Okay. So just try to create a logic which can do what? Which can separate the even numbers from here. Okay, just try to do it. Any process you can use. You want to use this process, you can use this process. You want to use this process, you can use this process. Please try. If you want to take input for how many of these to be printed, Abhishek, I didn't get your question. How many is to be printed? What do you mean? You asked from here, Abhishek?
Yes, sir.
Okay, understood. So yeah, you can do that, right? You can just take over here what, like, use your choice. Input. How many names you want to see from top? Okay, and then you can do what? This user choice can be over here, right? Isn't it? So how many names? Like suppose I want 3 names, so it will just print me 3, isn't it? I should not change the existing code. This is the first code, okay.
So, sir,
Mm-hmm.
that this list comprehension, is it
Mm-hmm.
only possible after we have another iterable?
Right.
Uh,
Just try everyone. Few of you had did, but it is sometimes. Okay, Mohammad Wasi, you are correct, but it will just print true or false. I want a separate list. Create a separate list with only even numbers filtered. So you want a separate list with only even numbers filtered, right? So you are correct, Mohammad Wasi, but it will just print true or false. ESA is, yeah, you are correct. Okay, use list comprehension. You did it. Okay, nicely. Okay, that is nice. Mhm. Okay, I had shared a assignment with you. We can do it in this thing. Fine. So now let's come back to it. So you did something. Okay, that's nice. Saurav also did it. Okay. Saurav Chauhan did it. Avinash, you are also correct. Nice, nice. Okay, that's okay. So there are different ways you basically take this thing to do the process, right? So let's try to see. Okay, let's see the generic way. That means without list comprehension. Okay, so for without list comprehension, what I need, I have to create a even numbers. Everyone knows it, right? So I need a list, so I'll define a blank list over here. Okay, what I do, I'll just define a blank list over here, right? Thereafter, I will process each value in this list for num in numbers. Okay, print num. So here I am accessing each value from here one by one because I have to check each number one by one. Okay, so as I have to check each number one by one, then obviously I require loop because loop can only run on each entity one by one. Okay, loop will do what? Loop will just run on each entity one by one like this. Okay, now at a particular instance, modulus 2. So I'll get only two outputs, either 1 or 0. If it is 1, it represents odd number. If it is 0, it represents even number. So I have to just think of 0, where it is 0. So I'll do what? I'll compare where you are 0. Wherever it is 0, we say just go and store over here. If num modulus 2 is 0, that means like this. I say go and sit in even numbers. Okay, and when it will just be there in the even numbers, we can print it. All right. So what's process is implemented? We just trigger a loop which is checking each number one by one. Each number is divided by 2 and like modulus 2, and we are checking remainder is 0 or not. If it is 0, we are putting that number over here. Right? This is simple process. Okay. You are now, suppose you are a pro programmer, right? You know a lot in the programming, right? So you will see, no, I will do it in a more concise way. So you will go for what? Just go for list comprehension, right? So it's like events is equals to blank list. Then after num for num, if I just print num, what will happen? Let's see. So last existing number, that is 10, right? Not correct. So for num in numbers, so there is each number over here one by one, but I don't want all the numbers. I want only even number. So how do I find even number? By condition check, and condition check we can do with if condition, if num modulus 2 double equals to 0. So everything we write in a single line. So here we have a particular way of doing it. Okay, and this is another way of doing it through list comprehension. So I added a few questions for you as an assignment. Kindly just try to do it. Okay, it is having basic to intermediate level, everything is added over here. Right, please just try to do this thing and let me know if you find any problem in any one of them. Any questions for today?
can you explain once more what is this num is doing in the list comprehension?
Okay, this
First num,
particular num, right?
right?
So here is it clear?
Yeah, that is there.
Okay, so num is just a variable, okay, which value is going to change because of loop. Okay, num is a variable like here. If you execute, you know the num value is changing every time because of loop, right? Okay, so
Yeah,
this is a variable whose value is not constant, right? Now, if I
right,
will only print this thing,
right.
then the last existing value of num is what? Because num value is changing. So last existing, like when this loop was running, the last existing value is what? 10. So 10
Right.
is already stored in the num. Okay, 10 is already stored in the num, right?
Mhm.
That's why it is printing you this thing. But I
Right.
want this variable whose value should change, okay, with the impact of loop.
Yeah.
If I want this variable whose value should change with the impact of loop, so we have to write a loop over here. So for num in numbers, okay,
Is it is taking the num value from the previous code?
from no, not from not now it will take from here. Okay, if I only write this thing, okay, if I only
Right.
write this thing, then obviously it will take the existing value of num. The existing value of
Okay.
num is what? 10. But if I will write like this for num in numbers, okay, so what it will do? Now it will take the value of num from here because now the num value will be controlled by this guy.
Okay.
Okay, like see again, let me tell you. Let's see, for example, if I'll write something over here, let's see. Num is equals to 2, 3, 4, 5 like this. Okay, something I have defined.
Right.
Okay. Now I'll only define num, right? So what it will do? Obviously, it will
Yeah.
use this value,
Yes.
right? It will use this value. Why? Because the new value of num is not defined. Okay, till the time new value of num is not defined, it will keep using the existing value,
Correct.
isn't it? So new value will be defined by what?
Num.
For num in
Mm.
numbers. Now we are saying that go through the list numbers and each value that is present in that numbers will act as a num for that instance. Now it will change. So it is taking each number over here one by one. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
But I want only even numbers, so we have to define the condition as well like this. Right. So condition we can define over here if num modulus 2 double equals to 0. So this is a condition. This is what I told you in over here. See, expression. This is important. This is a expression for item in iterable and then if condition. Okay, in this case, if condition was not there, it was just multiplying with 2. Right?
So the expression here is num.
Yeah, here you're right. Expression here is num. Okay. Expression can be anything. It can be like here. We are doing what? Here we are just multiplying. This is expression. Okay. In this case, this is expression, right? In the next case, we are not doing any operation. So this is, we are, kind of storing the value as it is. We are not doubling it. We are not calculating a square. We are not taking anything. We're not doing any mathematical operation. So we're just storing this thing as it is if it is even. Okay. So that's why only num is an expression. Okay. This is iterable and this is if condition.
Got
Okay.
it, sir. Thank you.
Right. Okay, so just do one thing, no worry. I can understand few of you may got whole thing, few of us may understood only 70-80%, few of us may have understand only 30-40%, so it's completely fine, right? Okay, even if you are getting 30-40% of it, that is all good. Then not don't worry, oh, I'm only getting 30-40%, what can I do? it's completely fine. Okay, at the beginner level, if you are able to give 30 and 40% of whatever that I'm teaching, that is more than enough, right? Don't worry at all. Just do one thing. Okay, try to work on these questions. Okay, anything. Okay, if you can't do right, do wrong. Okay, if you can't do right, just do wrong. Anything, anyway. There are multiple ways of writing the code. Just do it anyway. Okay, just even you can't do, just write kind of, or just create a garbage. That is also acceptable. Okay, just write ABCD whatever, right? But just attempt. Okay, please give it an attempt, and in the next class we'll discuss it. Okay, and then we'll go for the while loop. That's why I had only discussed for loop today. Okay, it was not very difficult for me to cover while loop as well, but purposely I had not covered while loop today because I want you to focus only one thing in one class, right? So it was, I can cover for loop and while loop in the same class as well. Okay, this is not a big deal for me, but I don't want to make you confused. Rather, I just choose to give you the different aspect of for loop. Okay, so that once you understood for loop completely, then we'll discuss the while loop. All right, guys, thank you. We'll see you in the next session. Okay, today's class link, let me share with you. Thank you, guys. Take care. Have a good day. We'll see you next week.